expert guide on how to play Hunter Ash. Let's jump into it. As always, we're going to break down into 6 different categories: ability breakdown, perks, pink F, range, melee, how to play. I really like Hunter Ash. I think he's one of the better characters in the game. I think that his exorcism ability, his exorcist ability, I should say, is one of the better abilities in the game right now. I think it's become actually even more important than when I said I think I said he was S tier on my last tier list, and I think he's gotten even better now because of how destroying the book has become the new meta for demon players. That's a huge like tempo loss, if that's what you want to call it, for demon players, especially demons who like to get a head start on the book, where they like to, you know, set some traps and then possess a basic and run into the dark ones, because survivors can't follow them into the dark ones while the dark ones, like that animation is playing that's causing the dark ones to despawn. They get free hits before the timer even starts. So it's huge if you're playing Hunter Ash and you know that's coming. You could use your Q to unpossess them and take away those otherwise free hits that they would have gotten. So now I think he's become even more important thanks to his exorcist ability. So I should also say what it does. Activating this ability exorcises the demon from any possessed survivor or basic unit. If used on a possessed unit or boss unit, a possessed elite or boss unit, the ability drains some infernal energy from the demon. Never use this on elites or bosses. You're dumb if you do it. I'm just going to start getting to these videos and just be unapologetic, because I swear to God, I could come on to one of these videos and be like, you know, I don't think it's a great idea to spec into Lone Wolf. And I swear to God, I'll have someone in the comments telling me you're wrong. It's actually great to spec into Lone Wolf. I'd come in here. I don't think there's a single person in this game who would say you should max out quicker picker upper on hunters. But if there is one, they'll be in my comment section. I promise you. I promise you there'll be somebody down there that's going to say, yeah, man, that's actually really good. I'm telling you, don't use this thing on elites. Do not use it on bosses. It is far more valuable to use it on basic possessed units. You should be using your gun against elites and bosses. Period. That's it. Now, one exception might be the Puppeteer Elite, because the Puppeteer Elite, for some stupid reason, has like crazy resistance to range damage, and you should go in and probably just use your melee weapon. You may need to just shoot him anyway and just take the L and realize that it's going to take a lot more shots to kill a possessed elite on Puppeteer. But yeah, that's probably the one exception. I still wouldn't use your Q on it, because they're going to die before your exorcist ability is going to drain enough infernal energy for them to lose possession. So don't use it on elites. Don't use it on boss units. Save it for basic possessions whenever you can. I will say the one thing I do want to add about this is that really good demon players will realize that you're going to be saving it for basic possessions, and they will try to bait it out and unpossess. Just keep that in mind and try not to telegraph it too much. That's pretty much it. Like don't try to telegraph it. Make sure that, you know, you get them in a situation where they're like caught in the middle of like a swinging animation or otherwise not paying attention to you, and then try to use it if you can. Otherwise, if you're in a situation where it's like, I got to burn my Q because somebody's in trouble, go ahead and do it. But just keep that in mind, that sometimes they will try to bait it out and like obviously possess something in front of you and be like, I'm going to get him to burn his exorcism or his exorcist ability right here, and then unpossess during your wind up, because it's a long wind up on the exorcist ability. So just keep that in mind. Still a really good ability though. His second ability is Treasure Hunter. See supply crates through walls at close range. Great ability. Makes it much easier to find some like really pesky crates, especially now with the Castle Kandar map. The castle itself has a lot of really annoying crates to find. So this is really good for that. Not much more to say. Like, great ability. In my opinion, I think like one of the best team comps you could probably run if you're going to go double Hunter would be Ed and Hunter Ash together, because then you have Ed who's going to be buffing up crates, and then you could have a Hunter Ash who's communicating and is like, hey man, like that chest isn't worth going for. That thing at the top of the top of one of whatever you want to call them at Castle Kandar, we don't need to go up there, but there's another crate kind of hidden over here that's legendary. That's kind of like a decent comp I think you could run if you were an organized group. Probably not something you'd want to run in solo queue too often though. His third ability is I'm the guy with the double barrel, which is awesome because not only does he have a double barrel mastery, he gets to start with it as well, which is always cool. That makes it so you don't have to go around searching for it. And the double barrel with his mastery is a fairly powerful weapon in the hands of a hunter, even at common. So that means that you can basically carry this throughout the match. You are probably going to have kind of a tough time if you don't find something better than that. Hopefully, at some point in the match, you will find something better than the common double barrel to replace it with. I would say in general, you want to keep the common double barrel over pretty much anything that's blue. And then beyond that, you're going to upgrade. So like if you find a blue boomstick, you're probably going to keep the white double barrel. But if you find a purple boomstick or a purple blunderbuss or a purple regular pump shotgun, then you're probably going to pick that up over the common double barrel, because I think the 20% difference is going to be great enough to where it justifies taking that. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Weapon Master double barrel, faster reload speed, increased health, balance bar, and dismemberment damage. This is a 20% increase across the board. Much more than what you see from warriors. So that's why the common double barrel that you start with could be used so late into the game, even if you don't find anything. And the nice thing too is that if you are caught in a situation where for some reason, and I've had games like this where you just get screwed on loot and you don't find anything better than a common double barrel, it's still respectable. A good demon is probably going to beat you if you get that unlucky. You're going to need something better than the common double barrel. But for most matches against demons who are just kind of average, the common double barrel should carry you through most of the match. All right, let's go over perks. Let's go over what I picked first and why I picked them, and then we'll go over the perks I didn't pick and why I didn't pick those. I run pretty similar builds on all my hunters, but I put 1 point into long shot. I've actually experimented with this a little bit and upgraded the range on this. I try to build where I maxed out the range on this and then maxed out surgical strike and try to turn my double barrel into like a precise sniper. I didn't really notice a difference at all, so that's not really a viable thing. I know I said I'd talk about why I took the perks that I took first, but we did put 1 point to this just because you have to, and I'm explaining to you why I don't max that out. Then 4 points of the hollow points. I think no matter what build you're running, you need to max this out. Even if you don't agree with this build, I think anyone who runs anything different should max out hollow points. 1 point to divide and conquer, which increases the dismemberment damage of ranged weapons. It actually, I would actually say this is not right. This is not right. That's better. That's how it should. I don't know why it was like that. That's weird. Yeah, you should come down here for sure, because you're going to want that less recoil, the slightly less recoil if you're using the double barrel, because that thing kicks like a mule. It's boom every time you shoot it. This will make your second follow-up shot much easier to land accurately. And 10% increase to balance bar damage isn't much, but it always helps because it could be the difference between your teammate that the possessed unit is focusing on getting hit or not. And then 4 points into Wig Splitter for the increased headshot damage. I think, again, this is key because you really want to spec into damage as much as you can on hunters, because you are going to be your team's primary damage source. 3 points into Fear No Evil. Gotta have this because hunters are so easily possessed, and then also if they do get possessed, you're in big trouble. Your whole team is going to be in big trouble. Not to mention that even if they don't do anything to your team, a lot of demons are just going to possess you and then shoot all your bullets. And then if you run out of ammo towards the end of the match, then you're also in big trouble. So you don't ever really want to get possessed. So 3 points into this is very, very important. I like to put 1 point into staying power and 3 points into Artful Dodger because that gives you a total of 5 dodges. 5 dodges is more than enough. It gives you enough to dodge pretty much every combo with 1 extra dodge in there as like, you know, your extra and so you have room for error. That's just personal preference. If you want to put more points into this, you can, especially because increased stamina, that's your overall stamina. So there's even a justification for putting 2 points into this. So then that way you can like run longer if you need to run away. That's totally fine. Me personally, I don't like doing it. So I just put 1 point into this and 3 into that because I think having 5 dodges is enough. But if you were going to do that, I would say you'd probably take 2 points out of Last Chance and put 2 points into this is more than likely what I would do. Or alternatively, if you're like a blunderbuss kind of guy, maybe you're really obsessed with the blunderbuss because you're a really good shot, 2 points out of Deadly Up Close because you're not going to be getting close. That's definitely an option. I'm just saying that this is my preference. There's absolutely nothing wrong with maxing this out and changing up your build a little bit. So anyway, then I come over here to Deadly Up Close because I am using the double barrel frequently, which means I am going to be getting up close very often. I will say I just got out of a game that we lost with 5 seconds left on the book. And I will say that it's very frustrating because ever since they changed the servers to include West Coast and East Coast to speed up queue times, it's way laggier to play now, and it's getting really hard to dodge units. And that game was against a puppeteer, and you're lagging like crazy trying to dodge the puppeteer attacks, and the puppeteer attacks are so fast that it lags like crazy, and it's so hard to dodge. And that makes using Deadly Up Close much riskier because being in like the fray, getting that close to a unit is always kind of scary because then if something comes up and hits you, you're going to have a hard time dodging it because, oh, I dodged on time, but the latency said, no, you didn't. And then you take 2 big hits and that's half your health. So Deadly Up Close is dangerous. I still think that you want the extra damage. It's why I still put 2 points into it or max it out for 3 because I think you need as much damage as you can, man. I think you need it for the book phase. You got to have enough damage to kill the boss when it comes out as quickly as possible. Because right now, that's where you win and lose the game. Because every decent demon is going to have their boss available for the book phase. And I actually that puppeteer game I got, he spawned the boss twice. And we didn't kill the boss fast enough. And I was part of that. My aim was pretty poopy because I had been using a blunderbuss, and again I was lagging like crazy and couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. So it's still important because I think like if you're using a double barrel at that point in the game, if something gets stunned, or the puppeteer especially boss is really hard to hit, but like Henrietta and Evil Ash, they are really easy to headshot, so you have to be able to kill them really quickly. And maxing out Deadly Up Close allows you to get up really close without really having to worry about getting hit because they're going to be focusing down the book, and this is going to let you kill them that much faster. Last Chance, this is probably the most controversial one I take, especially after the nerf. I think if there's like any character you want to take it on, it's probably Hunter Ash because of the fact that he's going to be using the double barrel so often. That basically means half the shots that you take are going to be benefiting from Last Chance. So that's why I take it. First shot and then second shot is getting the Last Chance bonus. And again, damage. I want as much damage as possible so that I could take down the boss at the book phase as fast as I possibly can. That's why I'm always going damage. And this build looks pretty similar on all my hunters. But let's go over the ones we don't take. Again, I don't know why I had these picked. I guess I might have been experimenting or something and just forgot and didn't take this off. Dismemberment damage you don't really care about with range damage. I've never really noticed a difference anyway. I've never really seen like limbs flying off when I'm shooting, unless I'm using like a saw gun, something with high dismemberment, that or like a hunting rifle. But at that point, I'm not really aiming for limbs. I'm aiming for the head. So dismemberment is not really relevant here. Reduces the spread of ranged weapons. Again, that would probably be okay. Like I tested it, like I said, with long shot, and I didn't notice much of a difference. There is a difference, but it's barely noticeable. I didn't notice any difference on the range, but the surgical strike is a very minimal difference. And even if you preferred this over recoil reduction, I just think taking like 10% balance bar damage is going to be more important in the long run. So you have to take firm grip to get to wig splitter. That's the main reason I'm not taking surgical strike. Down here, I ain't afraid of no trap. This is probably one of the bigger ones that people suggest taking. And the reason I don't take it is because I feel like anytime I get feared by a trap, it's either going to be early game when I don't have any points into fear yet, in which case it feels like I'm going to be getting like put past the threshold and possessed anyway. The second thing is traps are just really easy to avoid now. Like I just don't run into traps very often anymore. I feel like I don't need this at all. And the third thing, which should have been the second thing, is that if it gets late game where I have my fear resistance maxed out and I've got fear no evil on, I don't really need the extra resistance on a trap, because then at that point, the fear, if I'm at 0 fear, is not going to be enough to put me past the threshold. So I've never really felt like I need this. I can avoid demon traps. It seems like kind of redundant. I don't really need this. Ready for anything reduces the amount of damage received from demon traps. Again, I do a pretty good job of avoiding demon traps, so I don't feel like I really need it. Also, these two things, let's say you're somebody who's like, well, Sledge, I'm not good at avoiding demon traps, so I feel like I need these. Even still, I would say like, damage is just too important it's too important to sacrifice in order to stop yourself from running into demon traps. And the other thing I want to mention too is, like, I put 3 points into fear no evil. It's entirely possible that you are a god at like dropping your weapon. And regardless of how you feel about dropping your weapon, some people are like, oh, well, you can drop it in the middle of the possession animation, and that's not fair. I agree. I think that should be fixed. However, if you're somebody who's really good, like the second you are about to pass the threshold, or the second that the demon dashes you, you're just, and you're like a hacker, and you could just, boom, drop your weapon super quick. I know people on console are really good at dropping their weapons super quick. You may not need to put 3 points into Fear No Evil. Because if you're so good at just dropping your gun immediately, then you getting possessed doesn't really matter that much at that point. So you could probably take these 3 points and like put a couple here, and then maybe put one here. So then that way you've got, you know, less recoil with your double barrel. Or maybe you could put 2 here so that you do a little more balance bar damage to help you with the book phase. All that stuff is totally fine. If you're really good at dropping your weapon in time, you can absolutely do that. There's nothing wrong with that if you're a god at dropping your weapon in time. Me, I'm not very good at it. I got big, meaty sausage fingers, you know, hitting the inventory key and then getting my clicker over here to drop it real quick. I'm not fast enough at it, especially when I get demon dashed into a possession. So I have to take this because I have lost my team games because I wasn't fast enough. I got possessed and then the demon wiped the whole team. So that's why I put 3 points into Fear No Evil, but you can absolutely take those out and distribute them elsewhere if you are really good at that. I do not put any points into any of these. Industrial Strength, Tougher Than Hell, Reinforced Amulet, Improved Amulet. Nor do I think you should, because you need to get to a point where you're good enough at dodging to where demons cannot focus you. So at that point, your health and everything doesn't really matter because you should be the last person getting downed anyway, because you're so good at dodging, you can dodge full combos. Again, I just mentioned that now lag has gotten so bad that it's becoming really difficult to dodge demon combos. So there could be some merit to taking these in the future, because it could get to the point where you can no longer dodge reliably because of how laggy it is. If that happens, then maybe you could put points into this. As it stands right now, I don't think it's so bad that we need to resort to this. So right now, I would say if you are planning on playing a hunter, what you really need to focus on, what you really need to work on, is dodging and getting comfortable enough to where you're at the point that you can reliably dodge like a 4-hit combo from a basic possession. So then that way you shouldn't need these, because your goal isn't to get hit and survive like, you know, a warrior would be. And even warriors need to dodge. Your goal is to never get hit at all until you're the last one left. So I don't think you need any of these perks that invest in tankiness at all. Down here, quicker picker upper. You don't need this. Like, it's only a 10% time reduction, and 10% of all something that is already minuscule is not going to be a very big difference. This would be like near the top of my list of perks that I think need to be changed into something else. Like, I don't know. My survivor brain says that if it were me, I would make it to where like quicker picker upper at max would be like a 100% reduction, and that would effectively mean you could just tap your key to pick stuff up. That's how I would probably change. Then maybe it would be worth it to take it. But as it stands right now, no. It's just, it doesn't make a big enough difference putting 1 point into this, because you might be thinking, well, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could come here and go like that, right? But 10% isn't enough, and you don't want to invest 3 points into this, because getting to pick stuff up 40% faster isn't going to make a big enough difference, and it's just not worth it over all the other things you could be putting points into. And then deadly from a distance, like, it's a 15% damage increase, but that's 5% less than deadly up close, and it's going to be harder to do it. Because if you're further than 10 meters away, it's going to be harder for you to hit headshots. So it's just better to take deadly up close. Because deadly up close is a bigger increase, and it's going to be easier for you to hit shots the closer you are to the target. Quicker cooldown, you know, it's just like a few seconds that you're shaving off of this. What is it, 9 seconds or something like that? I believe it's 9 seconds. He actually is one of the very few characters where you might consider taking this on. Again, like, if you're someone who doesn't need Fear No Evil, you might invest 2 points into that, because getting to use his ability, because 9 seconds quicker will make a difference over the course of the match, because this is the type of ability where against a good demon, you're going to basically be using this the second it's off cooldown, every time it comes up. So I could see you investing in this. Again, if you're somebody who doesn't need that, boom, boom. Nothing wrong with that at all. So me personally, I just don't like, I don't personally prefer taking it. There's nothing wrong with putting points into this. I think that he's one of the guys in this game who it's worth putting points into this if you want to. And like I said, if this is a waste of points for you because you're really good at dropping your weapon, go ahead and invest some points into that. Coming down here, we have light therapy. I had a lot of people hyping this up. I tested it, and I believe what I found was it was something like, I got my notes here. I use an old school notepad. So I think what I found out is when you are at the maximum threshold, so your fear bar is totally full. If you take light therapy and you stand in a light source that's not like a matchstick light source, it's just a, you know, I don't know what you want to call it. You know what I mean, though. You will go down beneath the possession threshold 7 seconds faster. So it does make a difference. It definitely does go down a lot quicker. And going from full fear to 0 fear in that same light source will take you, it'll be 17 seconds faster. Under normal circumstances, it'll take a minute 05, or on a minute 22. With this perk, it'll take a minute 05. If you're standing in a light source at max fear and you want to get below the possession threshold, it would normally take you 26 seconds of standing there. With this perk, it'll take you 19 seconds of standing there. So the reason I don't take it is because I think that in my experience, putting 3 points into Fear No Evil is enough. I'm able to resist fear enough at that point, especially because you'll see in a minute here, with my pink F upgrades, I go fear first now on hunters. Once you have that maxed out, you basically don't need to worry about fear anymore outside of demon dashes and like jump scare traps, or demon traps, whatever you want to call them, demon dashes and demon traps. So this is not something you want to use like reliably as a method to actually lower your fear. If you use this, you're using it as a means to keep your fear managed, in the sense that as you're running around looting, you dip into a light source and you're probably gonna, you know, lose a little bit more fear than you otherwise would. I tested this a lot and I just didn't like it. I thought that putting 3 points into this was enough and that this was kind of redundant. It was too much fear resistance at that point. I didn't really need this. Most of the time there's a campfire close enough by to where once my fear in game is maxed out, and if I have Fear No Evil maxed out, even with a demon dash, they're typically not going to be able to take me from 0 past the possession threshold. And that leaves me with enough time to run to the nearest campfire, light it, and then lower my fear if that's what I need to do. So light therapy is one that's why I personally don't take it. Again, if you're someone who's really good at managing fear, you're probably not going to put points into this anyway. I wouldn't fault somebody for putting points into this. If you're someone who, let's say you really like Last Chance, but you don't like to get really up close and personal to take advantage of deadly up close, you could put 2 points into this, and you're only losing out on 15% damage from this. Again, I think you need as much damage as possible, which is why I don't take this. Like, a lot of the stuff in this build is centered around like the book phase, because that's the most important part of the match now. You could also take a couple points out of this. That's only a 10% loss, and it's only a 10% loss on the last bullet of your gun. So if you're somebody who likes using a certain weapon like a shotgun where you're not going to be taking advantage of that last shot very often, again, you could drop 2 points in that. And I would say that if you're somebody who prefers a weapon that has a larger clip to where Last Chance isn't going to be making much of a difference, you could probably go all in on fear resistance. Just go 2 in light therapy, 2 in I ain't afraid of no trap. That I think that would be fine. But I think you probably should be using a weapon that could take advantage of Last Chance, because the double barrel does a good job of taking advantage of it, and that extra damage is really important. These other two, we got Lone Wolf and Devastating Force, 2 melee-based things. Lone Wolf increases the damage you deal when there are no teammates around you. Somebody could comment on what the actual range on this. I never bothered to test it because I don't really care what the range is. I don't think it's worth taking, no matter. The range could be 5 meters, and I still wouldn't think it's worth it, because melee damage does not matter, and it especially does not matter to a hunter. If you need to deal damage, then you need to be using your gun. The only time this would ever really matter is if they change this to, like, you deal 30% more balance bar damage if nobody's around you. Then maybe you could consider taking something like this. But melee damage, and not balance bar damage, not dismemberment damage, has turned out to be just not very important at this stage in the game. Maybe that'll change at some point after this video comes out. But as it stands right now, melee damage is not important, and doubly so on hunters. So there's no point in putting points into this. I don't think there's a point in even putting points into those in like a weird off meta meme build. Like I made that Pablo build where I was like, oh, here's a weird build that's centered around rushing the map pieces. That build doesn't work for various reasons, but it can be really successful if the demon doesn't know what they're doing. This is not going to help you at all, even against a bad demon. So I would not recommend using this even for memes. So yeah, I would not put points into that. All right, let's go check our pink F upgrades and talk about those and what we should upgrade first. I actually was going to do a thing where I had like a picture up here of the pink F upgrade. So then that way I didn't have to like awkwardly get into a match, but my PC's like messing up and is being weird and like causing my pictures when I put them up to just disappear. It's super annoying. So now I have to come in here and do this. All right, so in a match, especially now if you're playing against a good demon, and at this point, demon players have gotten really good, dude. I'd say 9 out of 10 matches, the demon player is really good and knows what they're doing. And because of that, I think now it's changed to where you need to put points in fear right away and get that 30% fear reduction. Because the number one way that a good demon is going to try to beat you is they're going to see it's a hunter, and if they establish you're a good hunter, right away they're going to try to fear you, possess you, and wipe out your team. The demon players are obsessed with doing that. They love doing that. I'll tell you right now, I think you should do this no matter what. But this really happens with me because I think people see my name in game and they're like, oh, it's the YouTube guy. And if I'm playing a hunter, they want to fear me and possess me and wipe the team out so then they can, you know, go trash me somewhere and be like, oh, I made Sledge kill his own team. He sucks. So I really have to do this and make sure that I don't get possessed and wipe out my team. But I think you should do this even if you're not someone that's going to get recognized in game, because that's the quickest way it could backfire on you, especially if you're speccing really high into damage like I do on my hunters. So 3 points into fear right out the gate. After that, I would say you want to put all your points into stamina. Really important to ensure that, and I will also say it's especially important on Hunter Ash because of the fact that he starts with a double barrel. He starts with a weapon that can be very devastating to his team. Maybe on some of the other hunters you can afford to go like stamina first and then fear second. But on Hunter Ash especially, I would say 3 points into fear first. Then you want to put points into stamina, because the biggest thing that you need to do as a hunter is avoid taking damage. You want to get to those maximum 5 dodges as quickly as possible. You want to get that bonus stamina regeneration as quickly as possible. So once you dodge that full combo, you can backpedal. And then once they start up another combo, you can dodge that. And you need to get to the point as fast as you can in the match to where you can dodge full combos and force the demon when they possess a unit into focusing somebody else. And once you've established that you are good enough at dodging that you can't be hit and the demon can't focus you anymore, now that opens you up to get in there and like use your deadly up close, get in there within 5 meters and blast people with headshots, because they're not going to be focusing on you. They're going to have their back turned to you and focusing on somebody else. So 5 points into stamina next. After that, I like to max out ranged. This is good for a variety of reasons. Like the reload speed reductions are really, really good because the double barrel can take a long time to reload. This is very important because if you're dodging a combo, you're going to need that reload speed reduction in order to reload your double barrel in time between dodges. So like even if an enemy misses their full combo and now they're kind of, you know, hanging out and they're kind of on cooldown before they can wind up and start their next combo, you need this reload speed reduction to get your double barrel reloaded in time to shoot them before they start up their next combo. So it's really important for that. And then also, obviously, the range damage is always going to be really good because, like I said, damage is what you want in this game, especially at the book phase. You got to take them out as quickly as you can. And that's why we prioritize this third, because I'd say unless you are not doing a very good job of looting, even if you get screwed by RNG and not a lot of chest spawn for you, by the book phase, you probably should have enough points to at least have fear, stamina, and ranged maxed out. If you don't have shields, health, and melee maxed out by the book phase, that's fine. You can live with that. You cannot live with not having fear, stamina, and range maxed out by the book phase. After that, I would definitely put points into shield, particularly if you have a good support. They're going to keep you topped up on shields, which is really nice. After that, I would put... And shields are always something that I want to add a caveat of, like, if you have a super, super good support, you could take this a little earlier. If it's obvious that it's a support who really knows what they're doing and is using amulets really well, you can take this a little earlier. I would not take it before fear and stamina, but you can maybe take it before ranged if you need to. Then that way they can get you maxed out on shields if need be. But for me, I still like to go fear, stamina, range, then shield. After that, couple points into health. It's only 50 extra health, but hey, every little bit counts. And then a couple points into melee, because melee damage doesn't really mean anything to you, and you don't have enough points to put into here to get access to those other sweet, like, swing speed upgrades. So health first, melee second. These two don't really matter very much. They don't give much of a upgrade at all, but health is just a little bit better than melee damage. After that, we have our ranged weapon list to tell you what you want to be looking for, what you want to pick up. Obviously, right out the gate is the double barrel and S tier. That's your bread and butter. You find a double barrel, you want to take it. You start with a double barrel, obviously, but I'm saying, like, if you have an equal rarity of everything, like if you have 3 legendaries in front of you and it's a double barrel, a boomstick, and a shotgun or a blunderbuss, you're taking the double barrel. Like, the double barrel is your baby. That weapon mastery is really important, and it's your best gun. There's no other way around it. After that, I would definitely say the boomstick and the regular shotgun are both up there. I'd almost actually probably put the boomstick just slightly above that. The boomstick is better statistically than double barrel, but I believe that... Actually, we could do the math right now. Let's find out. So the double barrel at common, and actually it's different, isn't it now? Now it's different because the rarities don't go up as much because they nerfed the blue rarities. That's different now, so I can't do the math. The math doesn't matter, I guess. Well, it does matter, but I can't do it live right now. The boomstick's still really, really good. You're sacrificing a little bit more range for a little more damage. So, like, this is the gun where I know that I said if you find something that's purple, this is probably the one gun where if you find a blue boomstick, you're probably taking that over the white double barrel. Outside of that, I would say you want to wait until something is like purple or better before you're switching it out for your common double barrel. But the boomstick is very, very good. After that, I'd say the shotgun and the blunderbuss are kind of on the same tier. The blunderbuss is just good for different reasons. The blunderbuss is good because you get that one shot, so you're always taking advantage of that extra damage from last chance, which is really good. The thing shoots logs, so it's super easy to hit headshots with. The reason I have it down in B tier, though, is because you're going to have a harder time, like, hitting shots if you're really close, which if you follow my build, you're going to be really close. So yeah, I'd put blunderbuss here in B tier. Shotgun for the same reason. Shotgun, I think, got hit really hard by the rarity nerfs to ranged weapons. So I'd put the shotgun down here in B tier. After that, I'd probably say in terms of weapons that are good at, like, they're still pretty decent at, like, dealing damage. I'd say the hunting rifle and the revolver are pretty good. These are like in the tier of weapons where the only time you're really picking this up is if you find, like, a legendary. Like, if you find a legendary one of these, go ahead and pick it up. But outside of that, I wouldn't really take these over like, blue versions of any of these weapons. The explosive crossbow is really hard to rate because the explosive crossbow can be good if you are playing the hunter role of just taking out like basics left and right. But I firmly believe that if you're going to do that, you need to be playing Ed and you need to be the second hunter. Like, damage is so important at the book phase now that if you have a hunter who's not doing a ton of damage because they're doing like a small amount of AoE damage that's good to like kill a bunch of basics, but not good to kill a high health individual target, you lose. You flat out lose the game if you do not have a hunter that can take care of bosses and other possessed units. So the explosive barrel is like, or explosive crossbow is really bad on Hunter Ash. I think the only time you should ever pick it up and use that strategy is if you're playing Ed and you have a second hunter on your team and your second hunter is going to be able to take care of possessed units. And so I wouldn't take it on Hunter Ash. Lever action rifle stinks. I would never pick that up. Pistol stinks. I would never pick that up. Sawgun and crossbow. Sawgun stinks. I'd never pick that up on a hunter specifically. Crossbow is good if you can hit your shots. Crossbow's really good if you get it's like a better version of the blunderbuss, basically. But it's so hard to hit shots, especially with latency being as bad as it is now. With the server merge, that I still put the crossbow in D tier. It's just not very good. These are all kind of the weapons that, for me personally, I'm never picking these up. Even if I get a legendary pistol, somebody else can take it. If I get a legendary lever action rifle, somebody else could take it. C and above are all guns where it's like, if I find a really high rarity of that, I'm taking it. D tier is everything where it's like, I'm not taking that, somebody else can have it. So that's where we're at with that. Melee weapons. Sledgehammer is still king. It's kind of boring at this point. You're just like, every single character, every single class, S tier, Sledgehammer. That's where we're at right now with the current meta. Yeah, Sledgehammer is still S tier. It's the king of balance bar damage. That's what you really want as Hunter. You're not going to be using your melee very often, but I guess when you do, you're going to be using it to... I shouldn't say that you're not going to be using your melee very often. That's not true. You're going to be using it fairly frequently because you're saving your ammo for possessed units. Good demons seem to have possessions up every freaking second of the match. So you're going to be shooting almost every freaking second of the match because it's your job as the hunter to go kill that possessed unit. You're the damage dealer. You got to get in there and take care of it. When there is no possessed unit on the field, all you're really trying to do is F-chain and try not to get hit. You don't really want to be wasting stamina because then if a possessed unit does hit the field, you don't want to be in a situation where, oh, I just wasted all my stamina dodging AI units. Now the possessed unit is here and they're going to get free hits on me because I don't have enough stamina left over. So when there is no possessed unit on the field, you're going around stunning things, F-chaining, staying out of trouble. The second you hear that sound, that weird possession sound, and know there's a possessed unit on the field, you're getting in there and shooting them with your gun. After that, in A tier are kind of all the weapons that are like pretty good, but not quite as good as the Sledgehammer for balance bar damage, which I think it's just these two, right? Like these two are the highest, I think. I mean, maybe the baseball bat's up there. Baseball bat's a weird one because it's got high dismemberment for some reason. I guess because of the nails sticking out of it. So I would say that shovel and mace are probably your next two best friends. If you're just taking these if you can't find a sledgehammer, or if sledgehammer is prioritized on somebody else, like your warrior needs it before you do. So you take either the mace or the shovel next. After that is any of these like sharp weapons that still suspiciously have high balance bar damage for some reason. The chainsaw is also really good on him. I would almost bump the chainsaw up to A tier because even though it doesn't have that great of balance bar damage, not everyone can use it. So it's like, it's nice to take it, because if you have a Henry the Red on your team or a Scotty on your team and they're using a sledgehammer, it's good that you can free up the sledgehammer for them because you're using the chainsaw that they can't use anyway. But it probably still belongs in B tier. After that are the weapons that still deal a decent amount of, are these like 3-speed weapons that still deal a decent amount of balance bar damage, which would be the pickaxe and the meat hammer. And then after that are all the little like sharp weapons that don't deal a whole lot in the way of balance bar damage. I'd say that these two are weapons that I'm picking up if I can't find anything else. D tier are weapons. I'm only picking this up if it's the first weapon I come across and I need to have something. The second I find anything in C tier or above, I'm dropping any of these D tier weapons. So that's where we're at as far as the D tier weapons are concerned. But this is where I would go for hunters. That's sledgehammer in S tier, the mace in A tier, the shovel in A tier, chainsaw, lumberjax, sword, and bat in B tier, the meat hammer and the pickaxe in C tier, the hand axe, the hunting knife, the machete, the meat cleaver, and the spear in D tier. And I'll go over that again for the long weapons because I know it's kind of tiny. S tier is double barrel. A tier is the boomstick. B tier is the shotgun and the blunderbuss. C tier is the hunting rifle and the revolver. D tier is the crossbow, explosive crossbow, lever action rifle, pistol, and finally the saw gun. All right, let's go over how to play it. Normally, when I make these videos, I add a little bit of gameplay here. I'm not going to do that anymore because I've gotten really irritated lately with the number of comments I get from people who, like, listen, even I think I'm decent at this game. I don't think I'm like the best player or anything. I think that I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are much better than I am. I'm not trying to make a claim that I'm the best Survivor player. I just try to make videos to help people. And if you're somebody who like loves playing Hunter and you want a little more information that maybe might open your eyes to different sorts of builds and different perspectives, that's why I make these videos. But it's really annoying when somebody comes into the comments and they see your gameplay section. They're like, oh, you missed a dodge there at 4820. And I'm just like, shut up. I get it. We all make mistakes. I don't dodge every single attack 100% of the time. I don't hit every headshot 100% of the time with flawless accuracy. That's life. So I'm not even going to show gameplay anymore. And either way, it's probably not even really relevant. The only reason I even did it in the first place is because somebody complained once that I didn't have any B-roll footage. I didn't have any gameplay footage. I don't think anyone is really coming to watch these videos for gameplay footage. I think they're coming to be told and taught, like, hey, this is how you play this character. So what I want to tell you about how you're going to play this guy, let's go back to his character page so that I can get a better grasp of how you should play him. It's like I said in the beginning in regards to his exorcist ability. That's an ability that you are not using on anything other than basic possessions. Please don't use it on elites or bosses. I don't care what Johnny Jabroni told you on the Discord server. I don't care what Johnny Jabroni told you on Reddit. Please don't use it on bosses and elites. Please save it for basic possession units. And then when you get to the book phase, I would say that once you get to the dark ones, I wouldn't even use it at all until you've destroyed the dark ones. Just in case the demon player is good and knows what they're doing and knows to possess a unit and get a head start on the book, because otherwise there's no counter to that as the survivor team. You can't get in there and hit the guy and he's going to get like 3 free heavy hits on the book before the timer even starts and before any of the survivors can even get in there and attack him. So if you have the queue, then you can burn the queue on them when they're about to start on the book. Get them out of there and take away those free hits. And you want to make sure that you have your ability off cooldown so that you can do that. So I'd say once you get to the dark ones, you probably don't even want to use it. The only exception would be obviously if you're an organized group, then you can time it and be like, hey, 99% the dark ones. wait for Ash to get his thing off cooldown, then we'll finish it and hit Q. At that point, I would say, though, if you're that organized, you don't even need to do that. You can just 99% it, and when they possess the unit, you can just kill it normally. And then you'll have your Q up to kill the next unit. So that's just the little thing that I wanted to add for what you're going to be doing with Exorcist. Outside of that, I would say, I mentioned this briefly, but you need to really work on your dodges as much as you can. Get to the point where you feel comfortable that you can dodge combos reliably, learn them. A lot of that's just going to come with playing time and experience, learning what combos look like. Puppeteer basics in particular are quite difficult to dodge because of how fast the attacks come out. And again, the latency is really rough, but Warlord units and Necromancer units are pretty easy to dodge. Another thing you should try to get used to when you're dodging on any character is dodging forward rather than dodging back. Even I make the mistake of dodging back quite often. If you dodge towards the thing that's swinging at you, you get those iframes and they're not going to hit you if you time it right. And then they're not going to be able to like turn around. And there's a good chance that most of the time they're just going to whiff on their second attack. And then that saves a dodge. That's one dodge at least that you don't have to use. And that's going to make it easier for you to dodge their combos. So try to get used to dodging towards the unit if you can. In combat, you are, like I said, going to be using a high balance bar weapon to F-chain as much as you possibly can when there is not a possessed unit on the field. Once a possessed unit comes down, then you want to make sure that you can focus them as quickly as possible. The main reason you're doing this as well, please do not use your ammo on basic units as much as you can. Your ammo needs to be saved for possessed units because that's where your team needs you. As the hunter, your team needs your damage to take out those possessed units as fast as you can. If you are the team's main damage source and you're lacking and you're not killing those possessed units fast enough, you're going to lose. I actually truly believe the hunter is the single most important character on the team. I think they're even more important than the warrior. They're even more important than the support. I think that if you have a really good warrior and hunter and a bad support, you could still win. If you have a really good hunter and a really good support and a bad warrior, you could still win. If you have a really good warrior and a really good support, but a bad hunter, you're not going to win. You're going to lose at the book. Because if you have a bad hunter that doesn't do enough damage, it's over. Because no matter what, if you're not doing enough damage at the book phase, then you're dead in the water. And that's another reason why you do not want to use ammo on basic units or AI units, not basic units, excuse me, not on AI units, only possessed units, is because the most crucial point of the game is the book. And the book is the last point of the game, and it is the phase where you are most likely to run out of ammo. So if you reach the point where you're at the book phase and you're out of ammo because you wasted a bunch shooting AI units while you were doing the dagger and pages, game's over. You lose against a good demon. So you need to conserve ammo as much as you can, only for possessed units. And the rest of the time, you're really F-chaining as much as you can with your weapon that does high balance bar. Because in an ideal team composition, in my opinion, the warrior is going around and is tanking, and whenever there's not a possessed unit on the field, he's trying to take out basic AI units as much as he can. The support, when there's not a possession on the field, is also going to be contributing, taking out AI units. And then whoever your third is, they're going to be doing, whatever, depending on who they are. But you should always have warrior, hunter, support. I think, in my opinion, you should never have two supports. But outside of that, if you have warrior, hunter support, that's fine. Warrior, hunter support, that's fine. Warrior, leader support, hunter is fine. But yeah, I think the best comp you could do is two warriors. Two warriors, a hunter, and a support is the best thing you can do, in my opinion. If you are going to bring a leader, I would Prefer you bring Annie for her balance bar. And then her range damage is also really important for the book phase when balance bar isn't as relevant, because bosses will be maxed out and can't be stunned anymore. But then she gets her ranged bonus, and as long as she pops her Q on bosses, that's really helpful for hunters. But yeah, you are your team's main damage source, and so you need to conserve ammo as much as you possibly can. Only use them on possessed units, and try to hit your headshots as much as you can. Headshots are really important. I can't tell you how many times I play with hunters who don't hit headshots, man. You got to hit headshots. It's double damage. You got to hit your headshots. I just got out of a match where there were 2 hunters. It was me and an Ed, and I was using a shotgun most of the time, which is shotgun, like you try to hit headshots as much as you can, but it's harder to hit headshots. My other hunter had a blunderbuss the whole match, which is like the headshot weapon because it's easy to hit headshots with because it shoots logs. And at the end of the match, the other hunter had 1 headshot and I had 40, and we lost with 4 seconds left on the book. That's the game right there. You got to hit your headshots if you're playing as a hunter. Hit headshots as much as you can. And I think that's pretty much it. If as far as fear management goes, I don't know. I would recommend learning to drop your weapon as fast as you can. Whether or not that gets patched, I certainly don't think that it's intended for you to be able to drop your weapon in the middle of the possession animation. I'm sure that will get fixed. It may even get fixed that you can't drop your weapon at all once you're like past the fear threshold. At that point, then you could just forget about this entire point that I'm making, which is you learn how to drop your weapon. It can save you points in your skill tree, and it will overall just like save you from killing your team. Absolutely, there are times where I'm like, see my fear threshold's about to pass it, and maybe I'm making my way to a matchstick light source, and I drop my weapon because I know they're about to possess me. Try to use cars as much as you can. If you see a teammate is in trouble, get over to them, because if you see a teammate is low on health, that just happened in one of my recent matches. Our Scotty was super low on health, and it was fairly early game. That tells me it's a good demon who's spamming basic possessions. You need to get over there because you are the main damage source, and you are what is going to kill those units the fastest. And also, if you're playing Hunter Ash, you have your Exorcist ability to also cut down on those basic unit possessions. So that's basically how you're going to play Hunter Ash. Hope this video helps you out. If you have any ideas, you have any disagreements, anything like that, please discuss it in a respectful way in the comments. Let me know what you think. I apologize for, not uploading Evil Dead videos every single day right now, but the game just isn't like churning out new content, and we're not really getting a whole lot of updates. And to tell you the truth, the game's just kind of dying, which is kind of sad. Queue times are becoming longer and longer, and so it's getting harder and harder to make content on this game. I really still do enjoy the game, so I hope that, Saber can salvage this game and make it live on. But it's not looking great right now. So that's why the uploads on YouTube have been kind of sparse. I'd like to return to streaming on Twitch soon here. I've been out of action for a few weeks now because I had a really bad cough. Wasn't COVID. I don't know what it was. I think it was like bronchitis. My brother is the one who got me sick, and he got tested, and he had acute bronchitis. So I think that's what we all had. So yeah, hopefully we'll get back to Twitch streaming soon. If you made it this far in the video, I hope the video helps you. I hope you subscribe, like the video, all that fun stuff. And I will see you guys in the next video, and thank you for watching.